Trying to assimilate into high society by how you dress and present yourself is just subscribing to the oppressive system of class elitism. If I look like this, then I can be one of them. As if that's the goal, that's the aspiration. We don't need to be figuring out how to assimilate to the elite wealthy class. We need to be figuring out how to make it so that there is no elite wealthy class. Because why are we glorifying the system that has allowed for so much wealth and so many resources to be concentrated in the hands of the few, while the many starve and suffer? Hey y'all, it's Sarah Maria. Welcome back to my channel where we break down the problem of consumerism and its intersection with other systems of oppression, taking a deep dive into how we can be more conscious consumers and people in general. Our society is becoming increasingly concerned with the way things look more than how they feel, or the immaterial value that they add to our lives and the lives of those around us. This obsession with how things look is why we see the aesthetification of literally everything. Aesthetics, by definition, is concerned with beauty or the appreciation of beauty. And before social media gave it a new cultural definition, the concept of aesthetics dealt with a much deeper analysis of beauty, imagination, perception, and experience. It was concerned with the philosophy of aesthetic value, which is determined by critical judgments of artistic taste. Thus, the function of aesthetics is the critical reflection on art, culture, and nature. While a lot can be said about the philosophical study of aesthetics, one thing that is evident is that contemporary culture has largely reduced the term aesthetics to yet another form of consumerism, parading as the illusion of self-expression. The way we see the word aesthetic used by young people today has to do with categorizing the presentation of yourself and your life. But this presentation has little to do with your beliefs, philosophies, or opinions, the key aspects that make up who you are. Instead of that, it mostly has to do with how you adorn your physical, how you dress, how you do your hair and makeup, how you decorate your home, etc. This obsession with being perceived as a specific archetype is largely fueled by the things you buy, like clothing, accessories, and it even extends to bigger things like your car, your home. It also extends to services you buy, like cosmetic procedures or exercise classes. AKA, this whole obsession with creating and classifying ourselves as different aesthetics is fueled by consumerism, fueled by the idea that buying goods and services not only brings joy and fulfillment, but that it's what allows us to define, understand, and express who we are. How have we gotten to a point where we reduce our identity and our self-expression to a little pile of things? While expression through material things like clothing and makeup is valid expression, when we start to create these trendy, marketable categories that ultimately just serve to encourage people to buy more and more, we start to lose the whole point of it. It starts to become less about true expression and more about getting satisfaction from buying more things and fitting in with society by conforming to society-wide trends. The rise of all of these aesthetics is just one symptom of the fact that as a society, we have largely strayed away from understanding who we are outside of the lens of things we buy and material things that we own. In this video, we'll be exploring specifically the rise of the luxury aesthetic and our unhealthy obsession with looking wealthy, our unhealthy obsession with the whole concept of wealth. Let's get into it. According to the Teen magazine, some of the aesthetics you can choose from include the cottagecore aesthetic, fairycore, light academia, dark academia, coquette, soft girl. W magazine lists some as office siren and mob wife. which is arguably just an offshoot of the luxury rich girl aesthetic. And they even link to some items you can buy to achieve these looks, like this $200 button up that you could find at the thrift store for literally $7, or this faux fur coat that costs over $1,000. Please enlighten me as to why a faux fur coat made of 100% polyester, a cheap synthetic fiber, costs over $1,000. Oh right, it's because we love manipulating and exploiting the concept of luxury. Let me explain. While all the aesthetics ultimately are fueled by consumerism and the obsession with buying more and more things, the luxury one and its many offspring, like the quiet luxury and the old money aesthetics, are some of the most egregious examples of consumerism. This is because our contemporary definition of luxury is in itself consumerism personified. We think of luxury as relating to things you buy, specifically things you buy that cost a lot of money. But material things aside, what is luxury? By its very definition, luxury is a condition of abundance or great ease and comfort, something adding to pleasure or comfort but not absolutely necessary, an indulgence in something that provides pleasure, satisfaction, or ease. AKA, my warm bed on a cold rainy day is a luxury. My hot sauce that I put on my food so it can taste more flavorful is a luxury. The concept of luxury by its definition is actually quite simple and accessible. However, the corporate greed that is fueled by capitalism has caused companies to manipulate and exploit the concept of luxury and convince us all that luxury is not about pleasure, ease, and comfort, like that which you could get from your warm bed on a cold day. No, they tell us luxury means expensive material things that are by nature inaccessible to the majority of the population. Thus, the contemporary understanding of the concept of luxury plays into two things. The working class, who wants access to exclusive things so they can feel good about themselves, and the wealthy elite class, who has so much wealth concentrated in their hands that they actually just view a $1,000 coat as being not that expensive, and they'll pay for it easily, even if it's illogical for the item to be priced in that way. A $1,000 faux fur coat made of polyester, but polyester is not that expensive to produce, so where are they getting that price from? It's illogical. The reason why the luxury aesthetic exists is the same reason why companies are able to get away with selling a polyester coat for over $1,000. The reason being that we are obsessed with looking and being perceived as wealthy. They sell us this concept of luxury, which is just based upon something costing a lot of money, and in costing a lot of money, it's exclusive because there is this access barrier for the majority of the population that just couldn't afford it. But we are very motivated to prove that we can afford it. And that's what creates the demand for ridiculously expensive luxury goods, and it's also why the luxury aesthetic is so popular. Consumers want access to these expensive material things because it will make them feel like they've won some part of some game. A young woman who is finally able to get her first luxury handbag with a ridiculous price tag will feel like she won at something. It will feel like an accomplishment of some kind, a celebration. And it's not her fault for feeling that way. It's a result of the fact that corporate greed has effectively changed the way we as a society view the concept of luxury. They have turned it into something they can capitalize on for greater profits, and they manipulate us into thinking their products will make our life more more luxurious, not realizing that most of life's luxuries are actually free or much cheaper, and you already have a lot of them. I explore all of this more in a previous video linked here, all about exploitation of consumers and laborers within the luxury fashion industry, so check that out if you're interested. But for now, let's get back to the point of the video. So why is the luxury aesthetic and people's obsession with it problematic? This blog says the luxury aesthetic is a great way to show the world that you're confident and successful, but it's not all about designer labels and expensive price tags. And then they proceed to say, for shoes, some excellent brands include Christian Louboutin, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, and Chanel. And they say, no luxury outfit is complete without a pair of designer sunglasses. But don't worry, guys. It's not all about designer labels and expensive price tags. We wouldn't want to be elitist or materialistic or anything like that. According to this blog, Old Money Aesthetic Style Guide, this style is not only about pieces with less brand logos, but it's also about a timeless and expensive style that symbolizes high society. What both of these blogs signify to us is that the desire and the appeal of this luxury type of style is literally the glorification of class elitism. Elitism as a political theory refers to the concentration of decision-making and governing power into a small group, the elite. Class elitism is the connection between money and who gets to be in this small group. We see this running rampant in our society, as the people with the most money are the ones that effectively pull the strings of society and of government. The people with the most money are the ones that get to be in this elite ruling class. Trying to assimilate into high society by how you dress and present yourself is just subscribing to the oppressive system of class elitism. If I look like this, then I can be one of them. As if that's the goal, that's the aspiration. The blog then goes on to say, even if you can't afford to dress like an elite, you can still achieve the old money aesthetic style. Like, oh, thank God, I'm poor, but I can still try to fit in with the elites. Emphasis on the try to fit in. Another aspect of this I want to critique is the fact that class segregation is alive and well, and trying to assimilate to wealth by dressing a certain way will unfortunately only get you but so far into being accepted into those spaces. We're putting so much energy into trying to look like we come from old money, but the real old money can sniff you out from a mile away, or you won't even be close enough to them for them to be able to sniff you. All jokes aside, I'm not trying to crush people's dreams. What I'm trying to do is to get us to start thinking critically about why we want to fit into these wealthy spaces so badly. To an extent, we do have to play the capitalism game, of course, but we can begin to reimagine the system by shifting our perception of wealth from being the one desirable goal for self-indulgence to instead being a tool to be used for the greater good. For example, the way I'm trying to view money now is not solely as something to obtain for my own benefit or my own upward class mobility. Acquiring money and wealth is not a way for me to become one of the elite because I don't want to be one of them. Now I'm trying to always be reminding myself that money is like a toolbox. If you need to fix something, you need tools, right? If you want to fix capitalism from the inside, or even break it down and build something better, you need money. One, so that you can survive and be comfortable enough to even think about revolutionizing, and two, so that you can access the resources needed to do so. So, as someone concerned with how to build a more just and equitable society, I find this whole obsession with wanting to be one of the elite to be antithetical to that. We don't need to be figuring out how to assimilate to the elite wealthy class. We need to be figuring out how to make it so that there is no elite wealthy class. Because why are we glorifying the system that has allowed for so much wealth and so many resources to be concentrated in the hands of the few, while the many starve and suffer? Approximately 45 million young children across the globe suffer from severe malnutrition each year. That's nearly 1 out of every 3 children under 5 years of age. The World Food Program estimated that 345 million people were food insecure in 2023, more than twice as many as in 2020. And according to the United States Department of Agriculture, 33 million Americans are food insecure, including 5 million children. Meanwhile, the net worth of the world's billionaires has been steadily increasing by trillions of dollars over the past 20 years, with the exception of the recession in 2008. Their collective net worth was $1 trillion in 2000, and in 2024, it was $14.2 trillion. Fun fact, the only person in the top 10 wealthiest people in the world that is not in the technology industry is Bernard Arnault, who is the CEO of LVMH, the world's largest luxury goods company. LVMH owns Louis Vuitton, Dior, Sephora, and many other brands. This man alone has a net worth of $190 billion because of our collective obsession with looking wealthy, basically. We've been tricked by the wealthy into wanting to look wealthy so that they can get more wealthy. Embarrassing. Anyways, yes, I know that solving world hunger and the unequal distribution of wealth is a complicated problem. But it being complicated doesn't mean we, being people in positions of privilege, relatively speaking, can absolve ourselves of responsibility. For those of us, myself included, who have enough privilege to be able to even think about something as frivolous and materialistic as aesthetics and luxury aesthetic, the world is begging us to use some of this privilege, use some of this extra time or money to contribute to leveling the playing field, aka building a more just and equitable society, rather than to just keep climbing the ranks of oppressive class elitism for our own benefit. A quote by Toni Morrison says, "If you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else." We don't need more blogs and videos on how to achieve the luxury aesthetic or how to look and live like the expensive elite. We need more people who have the desire and the ability to empower and free others from the oppressive systems that rule our world. To reject the notion that luxury has to do with exclusivity, financial sacrifice, and meaningless material possessions is a radical act. Regardless of what the luxury girlies and the dripped out men embody, luxury is actually anything that brings you comfort, ease, and pleasure. It's not all about how much something costs. It's a luxury to have peaceful time to spend with your loved ones. And it's a luxury to have a warm bed to sleep in at night. Maybe we need a new word for the luxury that these exploitative brands are selling. Instead of luxury handbags, we can call them corporate greed handbags. Maybe then we will wake up and stop pouring senseless money and energy into acquiring them. And then we can begin to harness our buying power as a collective. Maybe instead of crowdfunding corporate greed, we can crowdfund community development and mutual aid. What a radical idea. Instead of crowdfunding Bernard Arnault's nearly $200 billion net worth, we can crowdfund resources in support of those in need within our local communities, using our buying power instead to fund underprivileged schools, community parks and green spaces, rehabilitation and community center for the unhoused. That's the world I want to see. As for the luxury aesthetic, The obsession with class elitism has to stop if we ever hope to see our society move in a more positive direction. So I hope this video was interesting. I hope it was helpful. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear them. I also had included a whole portion in this video talking all about luxury travel and the problems with that. The fact that luxury travel is just modern day colonialism. Wealthy foreigners coming into beautiful land in the global south and monopolizing it and privatizing access to it. But I decided to cut that and save it for its own video, so definitely stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video, if you like conversations like this, hit the subscribe button and turn on your post notifications so you can be notified every time I upload, and I will see you guys in the next video. Ciao!